everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at how to solve proportions. So the first thing we should do is we should take note of what a proportion is. So a proportion is a statement that says that two ratios are equal to each other. And remember, a ratio is just another way to say a fraction. So a ratio compares quantities with division. So in the general form, a proportion looks like this. It is one fraction equal to one other fraction. So it's a very special type of equation. And when we have a proportion, we have a pretty special principle that allows us to solve them. It's called the cross product principle. And we'll take a look at that in a second. But first, I want to start just by breaking it down a little bit and kind of lead into why the cross product principle works. So the first thing, here's a proportion. I have 2/3 is equal to 10 over x. Now, if I just wanted to go through the process and solve this, I would say I want to get rid of the fractions first. Well, one easy way to get rid of the fractions is to multiply the entire thing by the common denominator, which in this case would be 3 times x. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 3x, and I'm going to multiply the right side by 3x. All right, I'm going to write everything out. So this fraction, I'm going to end up with 3x times 2, and this is still over 3. And on the right-hand side, I'll end up with 10 times 3x over x. And then just taking a look at what simplifies, 3 over 3, that simplifies to 1. And then x over x simplifies to 1. So what we end up with is x times 2, or 2x. And then we have 10 times 3, which is 30. 2x is equal to 30. All right, and from there we could solve this. But if we look at this equation here, and we take a look at what we end up with, we have 2 and x. So over here on the left, we have 2 times x. And then over here on the right, we have 10 times 3. So this is where the cross product comes from. So I'm multiplying these two numbers together, and I'm multiplying these two together. So going back up here to my general form, if I'm given a proportion, I know that the cross product, I will end up with a times d is equal to b times c. So multiplying across. Okay, so the other important thing to note is the cross product, it only works with proportions. If we have more terms on either side of the equal sign that are being added or subtracted, the cross product won't work for us. Or if there's no equal sign in between our fractions, we can't cross multiply. So remember, the cross product only works when solving proportions. So if I go back to what I started with, 2/3 is equal to 10 over x. My cross product, I multiply the cross. We end up with 2x, and then 3 times 10 is 30. And then we can finish up, and we can see that x is 15. All right, so let's use this in another example. So I have 20 over x minus 10 is equal to 30 over x. All right, so the one thing I want to point out in this one is the numerator and denominator. These do act as grouping symbols. So this x minus 10, I'm going to think about this like it's in parentheses. So that way I know after I use my cross product, I'm going to have to distribute. So our cross products will have 20 times x, and then the other one will have 30 times x minus 10, and here I'm keeping it in parentheses. So 20x distributing the 30, we have 30x minus 300, and then we'll group up our variable terms. So I'll subtract 30x from both sides. So we get minus 10x is equal to negative 300, and dividing by negative 10, the negatives cancel out, and I just end up with x is 30. And if we double check that, it should work in our original proportion. So just to make a little note here, so if this is 30, we have 30 minus 10, which is 20. 20 over 20 is 1. And then over here, if this is 30, 30 over 30 is also 1. So both sides are the same, so this checks out. So this works. So the cross product is a really quick and easy way to handle proportions, but remember, it only works with proportions.